Hello, I'm Adrienne Molenkamp of the League of Women Voters of Athens County. Welcome to this candidate forum for the Nelsonville-York School Board race. We hope that this will provide you with information for the upcoming election. There are 3 candidates running for 2 seats on the school board. Voters may vote for up to 2 candidates. The candidates participating tonight are Micah Covert and David Logie. We appreciate these candidates for making the time to participate. The other candidate is Gary Edwards. Please make sure you have a voting plan for this November's election. Today is the last day to register to vote. If you haven't done that or you need to update your information, please get off of this meeting, go to the Board of Elections office right now. They're open until 9 p.m. tonight. Update your information, and then you can watch a recording of this later. Early voting starts tomorrow, October 5th, at the Board of Elections office on Court Street. If you want to vote by mail, you must submit a written absentee ballot request form, and the Board of Elections starts sending out those absentee ballots tomorrow. Election day is Tuesday, November 2nd. You can verify your polling place by contacting the County Board of Elections office. In addition to candidate events, our league publishes a print voter guide in which candidates provide written answers to questions. You can see that online now at vote411.org. The voter guide was published in the local papers last week, and we'll be getting paper copies out to the local libraries in the coming week. The League of Women Voters is dedicated to expanding public awareness about government issues and encouraging active participation in government. The League does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. Despite our name, the League is not for women only, and we welcome support and participation from all people. Please visit our website at athensleagueofwomenvoters.org to learn more about our League or to become a member. If you appreciate our candidate events and voter guides, please consider making a donation on our website. Thank you, and now I'll turn this event over to tonight's moderator, Wenda Shared.
Hello, welcome to this candidates forum. I will begin by explaining the forum procedures, which all the candidates here agreed to in advance. Tonight's forum will include first opening statements by each of the candidates, then questions submitted in advance by members of the public, and lastly, a closing statement from each of the candidates. Candidates will have 2 minutes for their opening statement, 2 minutes for their closing statements, and will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. There will be no rebuttals. The order of speaking will rotate, and I will indicate each time who speaks first. The candidates can see our timekeeper, who will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining, 10 seconds remaining, and when their time has expired, the timekeeper will hold up a stop sign. If the candidate continues speaking, I will say thank you and move on. Candidates are invited to share their qualifications and experience and to talk about their plans and proposals. Candidates are asked to focus on topics relevant to the stated question and avoid personal attacks and raising issues that are unrelated to the office being sought. If they go outside these guidelines, I may stop them to remind them of these guidelines. All questions from the public were received ahead of time through the email address that was included in our advertising, and then were reviewed by a league panel of question reviewers. The panel removed any questions that could not be answered by all the candidates, were statements rather than questions, or were duplicates of other questions. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can tonight. And we'll try to strive to cover a variety of topics during this forum before it ends at 8:30 this evening. Now we'll begin with our opening statements. We'll start by going in alphabetical order and by order of last name. Micah Covert, you will speak first. You have 2 minutes. You may begin now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Micah Covert, and tonight I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Athens County for holding this candidate forum. And I'd like to speak to the Nelsonville-York community as a whole. For the last 12 years, I've been lucky enough to serve as a school board member for Nelsonville-York City Schools. In my time as a school board member, I've strived to be an empathetic and kind leader, to listen to all sides, and to do what it takes to learn as much as I can. Being a school board member is not necessarily easy. However, if you have a passion for your community and a passion for education, you can learn as much as possible and try to make your job easier. Our job is governance. We are here to look over the school district in all forms. And so because of that, I make it a point to listen to our entire community when issues arise and connect those issues to the right person. I love our students. I love our communities of Nelsonville, York Township, Ward Township, Bookdale, Murray City, and Carbon Hill. And I love our faculty and staff. We have a fantastic faculty and staff, and I've made it a point to focus on supporting those individuals in their roles at this school district. We all play a small part in our school district and in our community. And when we work together, we can provide the best education possible for our students. Each student is unique, and we must strive to educate the whole child to make sure they are safe and receive the best education that they need. I appreciate this time, and I hope that my fellow citizens in Nelsonville-York will re-elect me for another term as a school board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to the opening statement of David Logie. David.
Thank you. My name is David Logie. I have an associate degree from Hocking College and a bachelor's degree from Ohio University. My wife is Dee Dee Pidcock Logie, and we made Nelsonville our home in 1999. We have 4 children. Our oldest, Allison, is a 2020 graduate of Nelsonville-York and resides in Portland, Oregon. Our sons, Leighton, Noah, and Reese, are all current students of the school system. Leighton is an 11th grader, Noah's an 8th grader, and Reese is a 5th grader at the elementary school. My wife and I both own businesses in the city of Nelsonville, Pidcock Class and Logie Insurance, and I'm an active community member. In Rotary, over the years, I've chaired many projects: the building of the Commons Park Shelter House, adding new playground equipment, updating the Polyfield Shelter House, fixing the swings, bleachers, grills, and replacement of all the picnic tables in the parks. Also helped with many projects and served as a president of the Nelsonville Chamber. As my children became older, my community service focus became more youth-oriented. I coached t-ball and coach pitch baseball teams for the Nelsonville Rec League. I am currently active in my church as a trustee, providing leadership for our scouting program and helping with the youth group outings. Specifically for our school district, I've chaired the first elementary school play in many years, provided leadership for our band boosters as a president for 2 years, and led the charge to bring the auditorium front of stage lighting to reality. This year, I have 1 boy in each of the 3 schools that comprise our district. Through my children, I have a good perspective of our school district. Consider me, Dave Logie, for your vote as a member of the Nelsonville-York School Board. Special thank you to the League of Women Voters of Athens County for setting up our forum tonight. Thank you.
And thank you for your opening statement. Now we're going to move on to the question and answer part of the forum. The candidates will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, if you need a question repeated, I would be happy to do that. That would not be a problem at all. We're going to start with Dave Logie answering the first question, and then, of course, the next question will be answered first by Micah Covert. Mr. Logie, what experience or special skills would you bring to the Nelsonville-York School Board?
As a business manager, I feel that my skills of, in the past of, operating skills or training, development, budgeting, things of business orientation might be a positive experience. Working with people are all positives or things that might be a positive for a school board. Just being out in the community and accessible, having kids in the school, you're just being out and about or at sporting events, you hear a lot of people talk about different things constantly. And that's just one of the things that I think is important. I think that would be a great asset to our community, is just having, I guess it's almost like feet on the ground, you know what I mean? Just having kids in school, you just hear a lot of things. And I think that's one of the reasons I want to be part. I almost feel like I should have did this sooner when my daughter was in school. I almost feel guilty that I didn't try to do this sooner. Thank you.
Thank you. Micah, same question.
Thanks. So in my day job, I am a professor at Washington State Community College. So I get the opportunity to teach students. I have a lot of high school students who are in my classroom through College Credit Plus. And because I've had this opportunity and have served on the school board before, I get to work with the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Higher Education to learn the ins and outs of what does it actually take to run the curriculum side of a school district. But I also have business experience in the corporate world, and that's what my graduate degree was in. So I am passionate about public budgeting and finance, and that's a big portion of what it takes to be a school board member, to think strategically and long-term planning wise. We can focus on one thing at a time, but we really should leave that to our professionals who are the directors and the principals and our faculty and staff in the school district themselves. So you have to really know a little bit about everything. And over the years, I've tried to learn as much as I could. And also I try to speak with as many students. Anytime I'm at the school, I was just there all day Friday. I get to know the little ones all the way up through high school and work with them and say, hey, who's your favorite teacher? What's your favorite subject? Tell me what's going on. And I'm lucky that I get the chance to do that with my current job. And so I hope that experience of teaching and knowing the education world in my profession translates into being a good school board member.
Thank you very much. We have our second question now, and Michael, you'll be the first one to answer the second question. What is your experience with public education? How would that experience influence your work as a board member?
Well, I'm a 2007 graduate of Nelsonville-York High School. My entire family graduated from Nelsonville-York, and my mother is a teacher there as well. My family is, I'm from a family of public servants, including educators and law enforcement officials and military personnel. Education changes based on the will of the General Assembly. And so it's important to know that with this change, you have to support your faculty and staff and administration. And again, I go back to you yourself need to do your best job. So while our role is small in a sense as individuals, it behooves you to learn as much as you can about the law and stay up to date with changes in the General Assembly. I love public education. I'm an advocate for it. That's my calling in life. That's what God has called me to do. And so when teachers struggle with going online for Zoom classes because of the pandemic, I'm right there with them. And when students struggle, because I am also in school, when students struggle with trying to juggle all of their life together, I'm right there with them. And I have a unique perspective in that sense. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Logie, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, could you please?
Sure. What is your experience with public education, and how would that experience influence your work as a board member?
Wonderful. My experience was, I personally went to Toledo Public Schools in Toledo, and my experience also is my sisters, her children went through the Hamilton schools, and my other sister had children, went through schools. And it's sort of funny when you talk to other people and their experiences with their children, you start asking questions on, why this happened here, why that happened there. And that's one of the programs I think I mentioned in my opening statement is, I think I mentioned the school play in the elementary school. That's what happened is my sister, and it was my sister-in-law too, her daughter had a school play in Athens we were invited to, and my sister also had a school play. Her kids went through a school play, and that's what I was like, why does Nelsonville-York not have a school play? And so I started asking around, and then I found out that our music teacher retired, and that wasn't put in the new contract or something like that. So that's when I took it upon myself and worked with the Parent Teacher Association, and we organized it, and we had a school play. And so that's what I guess what it is. You have to look around, you have to find out what other school districts are doing. And when something's not right or something doesn't sound right, you have to, ask questions and work with other people, and don't always be upset, but resolve the problem, ask questions, and see how you can resolve the problem to make something right.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Logie, you'll answer the third question first. So here's the third question. What is the top facilities issue facing schools in the Nelsonville-York School District, and how would you suggest the school board could be effective in addressing it?
Facilities. One of the issues that I think might be important in our area, and I guess it would be tied to something that I got to do when I was in Toledo, is Toledo has a regional transit authority, and we now have, a bus system that travels some of our areas now. But as after school, I think we have a lot of kids that would do more programs, and I think that this might be something a lot of our school districts need to look into, is that I think, a lot of our kids would be more active in some of our after school programming, such as sports or track or any of these activities, but their parents may not have the transportation for their kids to do these activities. And, a school district, is not really geared right now to transport these kids, right? So unless you can get a parent network to, transport these kids, which some of the parents do if you know these kids, but unless the kids sign up for it or their friends, and a lot of these kids are left out because they're not in that group, so how do you get those kids into that group? So I think that's a challenge that we need to work with, or maybe as a facilities issue, maybe we need to provide some busing afterwards, or work with the regional busing that we have now to expand that to after school programming. I don't know, but that's something that maybe needs to be looked at.
Thank you. Mr. Covert, would you like me to repeat that?
It's facilities, the top
Yes.
facilities priority. Well, so I was just on campus on Friday at Nelsonville-York, and I went to the wood shop. You might remember wood shop back in the day was only for the boys who needed extra time in the day. And we had majority female students there the day I went. And it's not just building things out of wood anymore. We're using CAD machines, 3D printers, laser engravers. We have to expand our facilities to include these STEM opportunities for our students. What we don't want to happen is have a student peak and we're not able to provide an educational opportunity for them. And sometimes that translates into facilities. And so I think we will be using ESSER money on the school board to build an additional STEM lab. We're getting, at our next board meeting, we're going to discuss this, and we'll be able to draw up some plans, and hopefully in this quite unique time be able to use some federal money to build those facilities. Although we're all on one campus, we actually are running out of space to provide those top educational priorities for our students. So in addition to a STEM lab, we desperately need a field house with extra locker rooms to allow us to really be a premier site in Southeast Ohio for conferences, athletic opportunities, to increase Nelsonville-York's draw to all of the state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to question number 4. First for Micah Covert. If elected, are there district-wide issues that need to be addressed? And if so, what are those issues?
So if I'm lucky enough to be reelected, we do have district-wide issues. We have a high poverty rate in our school district, and with that, we have food insecurity. And the transportation issues that Dave had mentioned earlier. Our school district has to become, and our campus has to become, a hub for the community. In many ways, it already is, but we are getting ready to open up a community-based health clinic in our elementary school office to allow our students to have access to those key medical services that perhaps we can't rely on their families to transport them to. And I think that's a big one. You know, in a community like ours, a rural, high poverty area, we love our students the same, we educate our students the same, and now we have to do that much more to ensure that those students have the best education possible comparative to other, maybe let's say, suburban school districts. We have to do the same job, and oftentimes we have to think of creative solutions to get there. So if that means we have to partner with Hopewell Health to build a community-based clinic, then we have to. If that means we have to partner with Ohio Health to have a full-time athletic trainer, then we do. If that means we partner with Stewart's Opera House to offer more arts opportunities for our students, then we will. And we'll make those strategic possibilities, those strategic answers, and bring them into fruition through those partnerships.
Thank you. Mr. Logie, if elected, are there district-wide issues that need to be addressed, and how would you address those?
I think one of the major issues is sometimes we have children that are not up to the level that some of the other kids are, and it seems like a lot of our teachers are always playing catch up. I know that they're trying to teach to the same level, and I'm not sure how we always get to the same level, but one of the ideas I heard somebody talking about that I'd like to look more and research to see if there's funding out there for. And I know we do a summer program for a week or two during the summer, but maybe a longer program, or a program that goes out through the whole summer, if we could find funding and some teachers and things that would be interested. And I know that we have a lot of kids in our community that are running around to school. I have kids in my office that visit me all summer long, that pop in and stuff like that. So I know there's kids out there that are looking for things to do. And I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that some of these kids might be the same kids that would need the extra programming and help and assistance to be brought up to that level. So maybe we could take this as a learning opportunity for some of these kids to bring them up to the level that they might need to be at for the next school year, at the same time giving them that little boost and programming, and at the same time taking them, bringing them some fun along the way. Maybe taking them to the zoo one day, you know, one day, and a pool one day, 1 week, you know, and making it fun along the way.
Thank you. Next question for Mr. David Logie, for starters. What is something you think the school board could do to strengthen relationships with the school district's parents?
I think just to be clear on everything we do, maybe try to steer away from Facebook with some things on sports issues. I know there's been a lot of controversy on Facebook and stuff, but I know that there's a lot of programs out there for team reach and things. Because I know with some of the other teams that I deal with my children, some of the coaches use these other programs to communicate with us instead of Facebook. And that might be an avenue. Maybe some of the coaches through the school could do that instead of Facebook. That might be something the school might be able to do. But then also just to be, clear on everything, but also on the parent side, if there is an issue, instead of complaining about it, what I do is, try to find the answer to it, talk to the teachers, go talk to the principal, and if the principal doesn't have the answer, go talk to the superintendent, and the superintendent doesn't have the answer, go talk to a board member. A lot of times I think people just get on and complain, which is not a way to solve an issue. And so I think, there's lots of ways to solve an issue and be part of the solution instead of just griping.
Thank you. Micah Covert, what is something you think the school board could do to strengthen relationships with parents?
Well, a few years ago, we hosted our first open house in many, many years at Nelsonville-York. And it wasn't just a come in and meet your teacher kind of a day. We partnered with outside organizations to offer free school supplies. Children's Services was there. We allowed all the parents and families to come in and fill out their forms so that they would have that done before school started. And we tied it in with kindergarten registration. I'd like to see more events like that for the whole community, and just allow folks to have perhaps an understanding of really what goes on here. Again, I'm not a practitioner of elementary school education. So as a board member, you really have to know you have to know a little bit about everything. And part of that means is we need to be on the same page. We have to communicate our vision of the school district and what we expect for education, what we expect for our faculty and staff, and what we expect from the community. I think the community knows they can come to me anytime with a complaint or something positive, and they know that I'll listen, but they also know that I'm just one person. I am not in charge of the school board. I serve as president, but I'm just one board member. And it's my job to relay that in a kind, empathetic, and intelligent way back to our administration and faculty and staff. So again, more open houses, more opportunities for the entire community to come together and use any media avenues possible to get the word out about what we have going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 6. This one is a big one because it includes the entire mission or vision statement for the school district that I'll read to you, so all the people watching can hear it. Nelsonville-York School District includes in its vision statement, perhaps not the entire vision statement, that it aims to provide a well-rounded educational experience that will support transition from student to global citizen, and that it aims to provide the setting for academic success and becoming a responsible, independent, lifelong learners who contribute positively to their communities. The question that comes from these 2 bits of vision statement, the part about turning students into global citizens and providing the setting for success so that the students can contribute positively to their communities. The question is, what are the ways that school board members can work to assist the district students to reach those goals of being part of a global community and also positively contributing to the community? And we'll start with Mr. Covert.
Okay, so it is important for us to be well connected in our communities and in the state, local, and regional levels with employers, with our state agencies, and with other folks who can provide those additional opportunities for students, extracurricular opportunities for students. They can continue to learn outside of the classroom. We want them to take what they've learned into the classroom and apply it in real life. I know that if our students because we have the most amazing faculty at Nelsonville-York. They are caring, they are intelligent, they are kind, and they themselves are global citizens. That's what we expect out of our faculty and staff, and that's what we expect out of our students. So as board members, what we can do is we can find those opportunities as well. But if a teacher or a parent or a community member finds something, we can act as facilitators to help our students get to that place. I'll give you an example. We didn't have arts at all levels at Nelsonville-York, and it was sad and heartbreaking. And I didn't have that when I was a student at Nelsonville-York. And we said, that's not right. We need to, number one, partner with Stewart's Opera House. And number two, we need to hire an art teacher at each of the buildings so that every student has that opportunity, so that they can see a world outside of our community. Doesn't mean they have to leave. It just means that they need to know what's out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Logie. You're muted, sir.
I just learned recently that our high school has 2 counselors now, which I think is wonderful. I think that is a great asset now, and I think it's something very much needed. And as a board member, I really like to work with both those counselors to help make sure that we're directing our students to either the college level or vocational school. I myself took the vocational route and went through the vocational program. And I think we have a great vocational program here at Tri-County. And when my daughter graduated, I think a lot of her friends missed a great opportunity there. Just because we did not, as a school district, maybe it's because we didn't have that second counselor there then, but maybe they should have had a little nudge or known more about what we had as opportunity there. I don't know, but I think with 2 counselors now, we need to do a better job. Maybe that's something we could do better with. And something else I was surprised at that I learned when my daughter graduated is that quite a few kids from Nelsonville-York graduated without a driver's license. Now, when I graduated, our local school had a program with driver's license right in the high school. Now, I know Hocking College just started a driver's ed program. So I don't know if that's something that we can do in conjunction with them, or if Nelsonville-York needs to do one. But I think that is something that every school district needs to do, is at least pull the kids or help them in some way or form get a driver's license.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question, starting with you, Mr. Logie again. Given the importance of the arts in forming a well-rounded educational experience, please provide 1 or 2 examples of how Nelsonville-York can support the arts in the schools. Thank you.
Well, bringing up facilities again, I know that our classrooms were limited because I had that experience with, I believe it was NOAA here a year or so ago. They had to share classrooms, or actually it might have been Layton. They had to share classrooms with the arts class from somebody coming in from Stewart's Opera House who was helping with the arts program. And so I know that's something, and I think Micah brought that up, but that's definitely, I think we have a full-time arts person now, and that's great, but I am very excited that we have that, and in the support of the arts program. I'm a big supporter of the music program. We have a problem with that at Nelsonville-York. I'm not sure if it's a scheduling problem or what, but that's something I do want to get involved with and try to get nailed down and help with that in some way or form, because I'm sure kids want to be a part of that, and I'm not sure what the problem is, but I'm sure if we start working on that, that would be a good program from the elementary school all the way through junior high to high school. As part of the arts, that was a program I was in. That was a program my daughter was in. And I think that is an avenue that a lot of kids can be part of to express themselves, be it through concert band, jazz band, or marching band.
Okay. Thank you. Same question for Mr. Covert. 1 or 2 examples of how Nelsonville-York can support the art.
Yeah, so thank you. A few years ago, another board member and I decided that not having art in every grade level was not acceptable. And so we made a strategic decision to invest in a full-time position to allow that to happen. We also, in addition to that, we bring in arts programming, outside arts programming, and it could be a band from Colombia. It could be drummers from West Africa to come in. And most of the time we do partner with nonprofit organizations. What a lot of folks don't know is that, you know, for extracurricular activities, we can only spend 10% of our operating budget, and that's required by law. And so we have to rely on those outside partnerships to be able to offer as many arts programs to our students as possible. And quite frankly, the good faith of our faculty and staff who volunteer to be the drama class teacher. You know, we might have a faculty member who teaches English all day, and then after school, they help with the school play. And we're very grateful for those folks. When you're a small school like us, sometimes you don't have the opportunities for other students. And so again, we have to reach out to outside organizations to bring those opportunities to our district as much as possible. Also, I just want folks to know there are a lot of demands on high schoolers today. And one thing that really helps is allowing those high schoolers to take college courses, both at Nelsonville-York and outside. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question. Given that drug use is a common problem in school districts across the nation, are there ways the school board could help support the school district in dealing with issues associated with drug addiction? Mr. Covert.
Thank you. Yes, so we have increased our counseling staff, and in addition to that, we have also trained all of our faculty and staff on how to work with students with trauma-informed care, because many of our students and families come from backgrounds with drug addiction, and we've changed how we discipline students. It's not so much a punitive measure as it is trying to understand and to love them. And that might sound silly to say, but oftentimes when students act out or participate in illicit drug use, it's not because they want to, it's because life is terrible at home. And so what we have to do is provide the best life that we can at the school district for them. You can invest in facilities, things like vape detectors and smoke detectors. You can keep an eye on students all day. But again, if we're wanting students to become those independent, safe, responsible, and respectful adults that they will be, then we have to understand them, understand where they're coming from. And I really commend our administration and faculty and staff. If a student has an issue, chances are there's someone, no, not chances, there is always someone at that school who knows what their home life is like and what they need. And I've seen time and time again, our teachers and our principals step up to provide food for students, to provide safe rides, to wait for their parents, to do whatever it takes to make sure that when they leave our campus, they are safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Logie. Here we are. Are there ways the school board could help support the school district in dealing with issues associated with drug addiction?
I would say again with the counselor staff, just to make sure that we are tying any resources that we have available throughout the community, through all the resources possible available. I know that we have our new facility here at the old hospital here in Nelsonville. I don't know what resources are available there, but just to make sure that any resources available are tied to that individual, to that student, to that family. And just make sure that we wrap our arms the best we can around that individual. And in certain situations, it's not, it's best just to wrap your arms around that person and try to watch out for them the best you can, because it's a home issue. And, just have to try to throw some resources towards it. And maybe it's something we need to look at some more. And maybe there's another position, a part-time position, or something that needs to be added, to an assistant principal's position or something like that. That maybe it's something else we need to look more into. That's all I have.
Thank you. Question number 9. What is your opinion of the current policies towards students with special needs? For example, mainstreaming students with behavioral problems, English language learners, students who face problems of poverty, etc. Mr. Logie?
Is that me, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, wrapping our arms around that individual. I know for a fact we have a lot of people with special needs in our school district. I'm not sure how we compare to other school districts around us. I know we have a resource officer that has to deal with a lot of special needs kids, or even the attendance officers are trying to get people in school. But we just have to work with those individuals and try to I believe it's called special needs programs, or what's it, SP, and the special programs we have to get. I can't remember what the term is, but special programs to get them on track. But we have to work with those individuals the best we can, and set up programs for them, and maybe the summer school program to get them caught up in the best we can, and whatever resources we need, for them. And I know there's certain requirements we have for that as well as with the state. So not only to meet those requirements, and I'm not for somebody just meeting requirements. I want to meet requirements and go above and beyond. And I think many times there's extra resources out there if we look for them, and what special things we can do for those individuals.
Thank you. Micah Covert, again, the question is, what is your opinion of current policies towards students with special needs? All those examples. Thank you.
Yes, so our students with special needs population has increased quite dramatically over the years in this school district. And my opinion is we should embrace advocacy to do whatever it takes to make sure those students receive the high quality education. When you work with students with special needs, students with disabilities, sometimes that means you need to lean on others. Sometimes that means you think you want to reinvent the wheel, but that's not necessarily the case. And it's important that, again, we create opportunities for success for those students. So each child's IEP or 504 plan has a specifically legal way laid out for how that child will progress through preschool and up through 12th grade and graduate high school. It's unique. Sometimes that means, as a school district, we're spending quite a bit of money to educate one child. No time in my never in my time as a school board member has anyone ever complained about that, because it means that that child will get the best education that they can. Sometimes it means we partner with the Athens MEGS Educational Service Center or with the Athens County Board of DD to provide another educational opportunity for that child. And again, it's just really about working to make sure that both legally and from a kind and loving way, what opportunities can we create for these kids to be as successful as their peers? Thank you.
We've moved on to question number 10. Mr. Covert, you'll go first. How does a school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
Well, in case folks didn't know, only about 11.5% of our operating budget comes from local taxes. Most of our operating budget comes from the state unrestricted grants and aid. That means money that we need to operate our $18 million budget to educate all of our children, to run all of our buses, and to pay all of our employees, which is 75% of our budget, salaries and benefits. And so we could increase the millage. We could ask the voters for a levy. Even if we did, that would not bring in more revenue for our school district. What that would do is put a burden on those property tax owners. And we've decided over the years not to do that. We haven't passed an operating levy since, I think, 1984. We just paid off our most recent bond in our building project. So we're at the state floor with 20 mills for our property taxes. We appreciate when people pay their property tax bills. About 65%, if you live in our school district, goes to our school, of your property taxes goes to our school district. But we know that for extra funding, extra revenue, we need to look outside this community and rely on the state and focus our efforts that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Logie. Would you like me to repeat it? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. How does the school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
I would just say transparency. It's always important to be transparent in everything they do. And whenever something's needed, you just, reach out to the community if there's a need, if there's something special that's needed, usually I'm sure you could reach out to the community and we would help out. I know with sports and things, when something's important and it's needed, usually the community will rally behind it and help out on the sporting side. I know when we were in band boosters, the band sort of had a requirement that you would have to buy the instrument, and in our community, it's really rough for that. So, the band boosters went to the board and we got that policy changed, and it took a long time to get the instruments. So we reached out to the community and we had instruments showing up at my office and my wife's office from the community. And we had the instruments we needed for the kids. And we had a bunch of kids sign up that year. And, it was just, the community rally behind it. So, I think, if you're transparent with the community, you tell them what the need is and what's needed for the kids, it goes both ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have question number 11. And I should say you're going through the questions pretty fast. This is good. I think we'll stop at the last question we have, which is number 14, and move to closing statements when we get to that. Question number 11. With 1 or 2 meetings a month, all school boards are limited in what they can do. How should the board decide what's most important? Mr. Logie.
Well, I've been to a few of the board meetings now, and I think sort of how they work is they sort of have committees that the way our board is set up currently. So they have subcommittees that sort of are working, and I think that's the best way they can work now. And I believe that's the best way that's going to have to work, because that's where a lot of the activities and the heavy lifting is going to happen, is on the committee level. And the reports and things are going to have to come to the board meeting, or to the open board meeting. And that's the best way it's going to have to happen, because I know when I helped with the lighting of the auditorium, a lot of that happened in the properties committee, and that's just sort of how that function worked. And I picked up on that process and understood that, because on the properties committee we visited different high schools and saw what type of lights they had. And I think we visited 2 different high schools, and that's sort of how they sort of came up with the idea of what type of system that we would have for our high school. I'm not sure how you would do that, in a different form. So I think that's probably the best way to do that, is with the subcommittees.
Thank you. Mr. Covert, same question.
So as a school board, you are in charge of governance, which means you are not there on every day managing the day-to-day business of the school district. You hire a CEO and a CFO. You hire the superintendent and the treasurer. What you are in charge of is together as a team, working with the administration to understand what is this long-term strategic vision for our school district. And along the way, we do work through committees. And so it's way more than just one or two meetings a month. That's essentially, and you're in constant communication with the administrative team, but it's most appropriate that it comes through the superintendent and the treasurer. But I hope folks know that they are, in our community, we're very close knit. And so, I find that I'm often speaking with parents and grandparents and teachers and principals on their own, but it's ideal because I'm not saying anything off the cuff. I'm saying, hey, this is what I think as an individual, but I'm not trying to tell a principal or a teacher, this is how you should do your job. That's inappropriate and not right. And so we can have those discussions through committee work, through public participation at our board meetings, through executive sessions, through open meetings. But we all need to work together and stay on the same communication page at least. Thanks.
Thank you. We're moving on to question number 12. What are your priorities for the district for the coming year? Why and how did you select those priorities? Micah Covert.
My priorities haven't really changed over my term as a board member. My number one priority is to keep our students safe and also to educate each one of our students to the best of their ability. And with over 1,100 unique individuals in our classrooms and on our buses and in our lunchrooms and on our fields and courts, we know that that requires a lot of work. And my hat is off to really our faculty and staff for doing that work. I'm here to support them, but again, I play a small role as an individual on the board, excuse me. And that's my number one priority. It seems kind of generic, but that's what a school board should do. We're called the Board of Education for a reason. We can focus on other things like the building projects that come up, boring things like 5-year forecasts and our utility bills. But at the end of the day, all of those don't serve a purpose unless they support our students' education. That's the main goal of this board and every other school board, I hope. And so I hope that that's what I've been able to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Logie, same question. Your priorities for the coming year?
One of the things that I'd like to take a dive into is maybe, and of course, once you get onto the board, there's always other priorities maybe that I'm not aware of that you would have to look into that might change direction. But one of the things I would like to look into is maybe that after school programming, or possibly the longer summer programming that help bring students up to date that I talked about earlier. The possibility of maybe some more transportation that we talked about earlier for programs after school that maybe get kids more involved, or maybe polling the students to see which kids can be in, make sure that which kids are working towards your driver's license, or which kids are having problems getting driver's license, because I think that's very important. And of course, working with the counselors and make sure they have the resources they need to make sure that we know which kids are picking which program versus being college prep or vocational, and which kids are comfortable going into which program on the high school level. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 13. This is for Mr. Logie. First, do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or as a representative of the school system? Mr. Logie, you need to unmute yourself.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking what a great question it was and didn't look and see that your mouth had actually started moving. So
All
my
right.
apologies, but now that you're unmuted, go ahead. How do
I
you
would
see
say-
yourself primarily?
I would say a community, because I really think that's what a board member is a person that a community member or somebody, with kids or can talk to if, their other avenues have been exhausted, if they talk to the teacher, if they talk to the principal, if they talk to the superintendent, if they went through the right avenues and are hitting a door or a problem. And because that's the same experience as I had. I had a problem. There was an issue, a couple issues that I had and kept hitting a problem. And then I came to the board and then we worked things out. And there was some equipment issues we had with the band. And then I went to some board members and we worked that out. And I came to the board meeting and we got things approved, and that was the right process. And I think people need to understand, the board's there to help. And if you go through the right steps, everybody's there for the same reason. And Micah pointed it out earlier, we have a superintendent and principals and teachers to run everything for us. And we're not there to run it for them. They're there to run it for us. We're just there to help maybe, paint the picture a little bit. And then, we've got the captain of the ship, the superintendent, and then we got everybody to run it, and we're not there to do it for them.
Thank you. Micah Covert, same question. How do you see yourself?
Well, I would say that our school system and our community are one and the same. And it depends on how people see me. I see myself as a community member in the sense that because I am not at the school district on a day-to-day basis, I can bring in an outside perspective and say, maybe you should try reaching out to this person, or have you thought about this? Never in a managerial sense, never in a punitive sense, but in a helpful way. From the school system side, people look to you. When you're a board member, you're expected to be a role model for leadership and for compassion toward our students and for passion for public education. And so, you have to understand that what you say and do is a reflection of the school district, whether or not you like it. And I hope that over the years, people have been able to see that, hey, as a reflection of Micah, this school district is a good place to send your students. It is a good place that we can learn if you are a student. And I hope from the school district side, people have seen me as a community member and said, you know what, I'm glad he is on the board. And I hope that he can continue to bring those ideas when the time is right and in the appropriate fashion. Thanks.
Thank you. Next and final question tonight. Micah Covert, you'll answer first. What do you think is the school board's role in supporting district teachers? How would you work on supporting district teachers?
From a general sense, in union negotiations, we're management and they are a union. But in all seriousness, we have a very wonderful relationship with our faculty. Over the years, if a faculty member is passionate about a project or partnering with a community organization or taking their students on a field trip or bringing in a new content area for curriculum or creating a new class for our students, then we want them to come to the school board and show that and present that, not for us to criticize, but to celebrate their successes and really to thank them for the hard work. They work harder than most professions, and I'm so grateful for our faculty and our teachers who spend their own money, go above and beyond their work hours and their specific contract negotiations, because they know they are students and they care about our students. As a board member, it is our job to support them in that process. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. David Logie, same question.
Could you
Sure, I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the school board's role in supporting district teachers? And how would you work on supporting district teachers?
Well, teachers are the bedrock of our school. If the teachers aren't happy, nobody's happy, I would say. And I also think it's important that as a teacher, we also look for professional development for the teachers. Like, we identify which teachers want to move up and be a principal someday, or an assistant principal, or maybe a superintendent someday. And make sure that we maybe have opportunities for them. I don't know if that's something that we do as a school district, but maybe that's something that we should do. Make sure that there's professional opportunities for them, or maybe special projects they can work on as resume builders, so that when they reach out for their next opportunity, that they have resume builders or things on their resume that somebody else may not have on their resume. And I think that's important as well. I came from a union family. My dad, worked for General Motors. And so, union's very important. And the same respect, my dad was frustrated several times because he had a grievance slapped on him for things that he thought were silly. So I understand the importance of a union, and I understand that, and I'm in support of the teachers, and would try to support them in every way.
Thank you. Now it's time to move on to closing statements. You will each have 2 minutes for your closing statement, and as we rotate all the way through, we'll begin with David Logie with your 2-minute closing statement. Thank you.
My statement's going to be short here. I appreciate the League of Women Voters of Athens County for having this forum tonight, and I appreciate everybody for paying attention tonight, for working with us throughout the evening, and would consider looking forward to your vote for Nelsonville-York School Board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Micah Covert, your closing statement.
Thank you again, Wenda, and thank you to the entire board and members of the League of Women's Voters of Athens County for putting on this candidates forum and reaching out to us. It's so important to get involved in local elections. I hope everyone watching tonight is registered to vote and that you vote on November 2nd. And speaking directly to the Nelsonville-York community, I want you to know that if you re-elect me to be your school board member, I will continue to work tirelessly to be the best school board member I can be. I will learn for you, I will advocate for you, and I will work to make sure your child has a great education. I'm not perfect, and the school district isn't perfect, but that doesn't mean I won't stop. I will listen to you, I'll be empathetic and kind, and I will carry your concerns, I'll celebrate your joys, and I'll help make this community a better place. I hope that you consider me as you vote for Nelsonville-York School Board on November 2nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our candidates for appearing tonight. It's been great to have both of you, Micah Covert and David Logie. The third candidate for this race, where 2 of you will win, is Gary Edwards. He did message us after this forum began. He had intended to be here, but his flight was delayed. So he let us know that. This forum recording will be viewable on the League of Women Voters website as soon as we can get it up there by tomorrow. It will also continue to be on the League of Women Voters Facebook page as long as Facebook continues to operate. I know there was the big outage globally today, but hopefully everything's solved for now. I want to finally thank all the people who submitted questions, so many thoughtful questions. We combined some of those and clarified some of those. We chose the ones that related to the positions that both candidates could answer. We urge all of you to make a voting plan now. Early in-person voting starts at the Board of Elections tomorrow, October 5th, and Election Day is November 2nd. Thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you.